Imagine a war hero who survived the battlefield but now fights a different battle, a battle against poverty. With nothing but an old, battered piano and a lifetime of heartache, he steps on the stage of AGT Manila 2025, and what happens next brings Simon Cowell to tears. If you believe in miracles, hit subscribe now, because this story will touch your soul. In a small, weather-beaten neighborhood in Manila, a man named Ernesto lives a life many would call forgotten. Once a decorated veteran, he had fought bravely in the military, defending his country with courage that few could imagine. But after returning home, the world outside the battlefield had changed. Jobs were scarce, bills piled high, and his modest home bore the weight of time and struggle. Despite all, Ernesto never gave up hope. His most treasured possession was an old piano, scratched and worn, with missing keys and a faded wooden frame. It had been given to him years ago by a fellow soldier, a parting gift before his comrade left the country. For Ernesto, the piano was not just an instrument, it was a companion, a link to his past victories, losses, and memories of those he had lost. Every evening, he would sit and play, letting the music speak what words could not. Neighbors would sometimes stop to listen, captivated by the haunting melodies that seemed to carry the weight of a lifetime. Ernesto had always dreamed of sharing his music with the world, but life's hardships kept him tethered to the streets of Manila. His hands, scarred from war, moved over the keys with a precision and grace that belied his age and circumstance. Then came the day that would change everything. A casting call for AGT Manila 2025 was announced, promising to showcase talents from all corners of the Philippines. His granddaughter, who had grown up watching him play, insisted he audition. At first, Ernesto hesitated. Could he really step in front of thousands of strangers and a panel of critics? But her encouragement, and the memory of his fallen comrades, gave him courage. The day of the audition arrived. Ernesto carried his battered piano to the stage, each step heavy with nerves and hope. The audience murmured in curiosity and skepticism. Here was a frail man with an old piano, and no flashy gimmicks or dazzling costumes. But Ernesto was unshaken. He took his seat, closed his eyes, and let the music flow. The first notes trembled, raw and fragile, as if testing the air. Then, like a rising tide, the melody grew, filling the room with emotion so pure that the audience felt it in their bones. As Ernesto played, the story of his life unfolded through the music. Pain, sacrifice, hope, and redemption, all told without a single word. Simon Cowell, known for his stern demeanor, sat motionless, his usual expressions of judgment replaced by awe. When Ernesto finished, silence hung in the air for a heartbeat before it exploded into thunderous applause. Tears streamed down Simon's face as he pressed the golden buzzer, an act reserved for performances that touch the deepest parts of humanity. But the story did not end there. Ernesto's journey had its share of unexpected twists. Backstage, he was approached by a young philanthropist who had been moved by his story. She offered to help restore his home, fund music lessons for his grandchildren, and even organize concerts in Manila and beyond. Ernesto was overwhelmed. He had spent decades helping others without expecting anything in return, and now the world was finally giving back. Yet, not all challenges vanished. Ernesto had to confront the lingering shadow of guilt from his past as a soldier. Memories of lost friends and the choices he had made in battle haunted him. The fame from AGT brought attention, but also scrutiny. Some questioned why a man of his age was performing, while others debated the fairness of the golden buzzer. Through it all, Ernesto remained steadfast, playing the piano as a form of therapy, healing, and storytelling. As the weeks passed, Ernesto's music inspired millions. Videos of his audition went viral, spreading far beyond the Philippines. News outlets covered his journey, focusing not only on his talent but also on his resilience. Interviews revealed the depth of his character, a man who, despite poverty, war, and personal loss, remained gentle, kind, and driven by a love of music. On the day of the live finale, Ernesto returned to the stage. This time, he was not alone. His granddaughter accompanied him on violin, neighbors cheered, and fans from across the country waved banners. The piano, once old and battered, now gleamed under the spotlight, repaired by supporters who recognized its significance. Ernesto's hands danced over the keys, telling a story that transcended borders, reminding everyone that art is the ultimate equalizer. It does not care about wealth, age, or background. The performance concluded, and the audience rose to a standing ovation. Simon Cowell, wiping tears from his eyes, declared Ernesto not only a remarkable musician but a symbol of hope. For Ernesto, the golden buzzer was more than recognition, it was validation that his life, with all its trials and triumphs, had meaning. In the aftermath, Ernesto used his newfound platform to give back. He started a foundation to provide musical instruments to underprivileged children, helping them find a voice just as he had. He spoke openly about the struggles of veterans returning to civilian life, advocating for support and recognition. Through every interview and performance, Ernesto reminded the world that courage is not just shown on the battlefield but in every small act of perseverance and love. The story of Ernesto, the poor Filipino veteran who won the golden buzzer, became a beacon of inspiration. It proved that dreams are not limited by circumstance and that music, the universal language, has the power to heal, unite, and move even the hardest hearts. From his tiny home in Manila to the stage of AGT, Ernesto's journey showed the world that hope can emerge from the humblest beginnings. And though his hands were scarred, his heart was open, and his music spoke louder than words ever could.